Hello, buddy. All right. Welcome to the Mikestand. Hope everybody's having a good week as we head into the weekend here. Um, Today is Friday, November the 8th, 2024. So we're going to go ahead and um, just checking some things here real quick. All right. All right. So with that being said, going to give people a chance to come in here before we get started. So we do have a bit. We do have at least one story to go over tonight. So while we're waiting, let me see if I can go drop some shares off to see if we can draw in some more people, as it were. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. All right, let's see. It's past 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm just gonna start right away here. So tonight we got one article we're gonna go over from Bleeding Cool. I kind of missed that this was actually put up on the site last night. I guess it was put up on Wednesday, but I guess I missed it. So um, tonight we're gonna go over the Indie Comics Showcase. Of course, this week, it's number 289 among the of course among the features that are going to be going over, including Mike Barron's Sherlock Holmes Leviathan, as well as of course our buddy Apex, real name Brent Cantrell, Grant Cantrell's Fembat. So just do this real quick, and then we will probably get right into things then. Let me check one more time, and then we will. Oh, actually, what did I just see there? I just check. All right. So with that being said, let's get into the article here. Let's get right into this. All right. So here we go. Indie Comics Showcase number 289, Fembat, Jetta Ray, and Sherlock Holmes Leviathan. Article by Chris Braley, published November 6, 2024, which was this past Wednesday. So, welcome back to another installment of Indie Comics Showcase, the weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent creators, or a few truly independent comics, that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle, and of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too, even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. On Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's jump in. So, Sherlock Holmes Leviathan by Mike Baron and Richard Bonk. Let me go ahead and go grab that link. Let's see, and it looks like it's from Baron Comics. I guess Mike Baron's own website here. You guys want to go? So I'll grab that link. So that we can. All right, so let me. All right, I guess I can. Now that I have the link. All right, so here's the link. Here's a link for you guys if you guys want to go check this project out. There it is. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so Sherlock Holmes Leviathan by Mike Baron and Richard Bonk. All right, Chris Braley, welcome back to Indie Comic Showcase. Mike, give our readers the pitch for your latest graphic novel. Mike Baron, Sherlock Holmes teams up with Captain Nemo to stop a madman from igniting a world war. Two of the greatest Victorian heroes meet and ignite an explosion of cyberpunk excitement, guest stars that will blow your mind, and a globe-spanning adventure. The story is 72 pages in full color, and it's illustrated by the great Richard Bonk. So it sounds like a pretty good start there. Quite a sales pitch right there. So Chris then asked, "What's the origin of this story?" And then Mike responds, "I have always been a Sherlock Holmes fan. I wanted to craft an adventure worthy of his skills while incorporating the prescient vision of Jules Verne. I think that for those who are familiar with my work, a story starring Holmes and Nemo would excite interest." Yeah, I mean, as he said, two Victorian age heroes there that would grab a lot of literary fans' interest. Definitely. Of course, Captain Nemo of 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea fame. Chris then asked, "So, is so it this aimed?" Okay, I think he meant to say, "So is this aimed at Sherlock Holmes fans?" Mike then responds, "This is aimed at everyone who loves graphic literature, from 5-year-olds to retirees. Entertainment is of supreme importance. I'll grab you by the throat in the first couple of pages and never let go. Oh, that's quite a kind of very forceful way of saying it. I write so that the reader becomes more so immersed in the story, he will resent any intrusion. Well, that what everybody wants for their content? For you to be just so immersed that nothing can take you away from it. I think we all want that, right? In our content. Let's see. Anyways, and if you haven't already, you guys can help me out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, let's continue on here. Kristen asks, you're an award-winning veteran of the comics industry. So how would you describe your creative process and how you approach storytelling? Mike, in response, I used to just wing it. I begin by making notes in a pad, names, situations, history, anything and everything that could be part of the story. When I hit critical mass, I write an outline. The outline is not just a guide, it must also intrigue readers. I want them to put that outline down and say, quote, where do I get it? I invariably veer away from the outline, as all good writes know if you create a fully rounded character, at some point he'll turn around and tell you what happens next. My workflow is never ending. I love to create. So kind of like that song from Cartoon Network. Oh, we go walk around in circles, walk around in circles, walk around in circles. And some of the art there. I guess Captain Nemo and Sherlock. Well, actually, that might actually be Holmes and Watson right there for all we know. Let's see. Kristen asks, what can you tell our readers about your creative team? Mike then responds, Richard Bonk is the rare artist who's both fast and good. The book was fully illustrated before we launched this campaign. Well, that's always a good thing, right? Have everything set to go and you're ready to put it out there for people to grab. Right? Have everything, I wrote about it on my Substack, and it's true. On colors, we're working with Gabe Eltabe and Rob Epps, who I worked with on Bronze Star. His basically space western comic. For letters, we're engaged. We've engaged Carlos Mangual, who handled letters for Florida Man versus Hogzilla. As of today, Leviathan is completely done, finished, and coloring and lettering are underway. So he's about ready to go then, it would seem. Let's see. As I said, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Anyways. So, Chris, what's compelled you to go the crowdfunding route over the last few years? I think we all know the answer to that, but let's hear it from Mike himself. Mike, there's a market out there for compelling stories outside the mainstream. Marvel and DC have screwed the pooch. They forgot their job was to entertain. I never forget. I also learned I can't do it alone. Were it not for people like you, I'd be living in a fishing shack in Manitoba eating raw pike. All right. Chris, I know you had fun with the story. You're a longtime Holmes fan. Do you have more adventures in mind for, in quotes here, world's greatest detective? Mike, there are always more stories to tell. I have thought of several home scenarios. If this one does well, each featuring another great hero from the Victorian literature. So some, oh, now this is kind of an interesting concept. So getting basically, your Victorian crossovers here. That does sound like a very interesting story, interesting scenario. Some of the artwork here is pretty good too. Pretty live and vibrant there. Let's see now. All right, so Chris, you're running simultaneous campaigns on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Fund My Comic. Which one is your favorite, and are there any special features on your campaigns? Mike, hands down, Fund My Comic is the platform of choice, but there are backers on all of them that I love. You can access them all at baroncomics.com. As far as the campaigns, there are variant covers. A hardcore cover. We will even enlist Rich to, quote, draw you in, unquote, to the story itself. Incredible. There may even be a hidden code that leads to a priceless treasure in the jungles of Yucatan. Yeah, you do get with the art here. You do get a good cyberpunk feel while still being pretty vibrant. Let's see, Chris. It's been great working with you, Mike. Any final comments for our readers? Mike, I have two moments of joy when I create a story. The first is when I write something I know is a bullseye. The second is when I hold the finished product in my hand. I leave it to the readers to decide if I hit the bullseye. I encourage them to search for reviews for my two most recent crowdfunded graphic novels, Bronze Star with the great artist Pat Broderick, and Nexus Scourge with the brilliant Kelsey Shannon. Chris, both excellent, Mike. Talk to you soon. All right, so I do need to step away. I do need to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back, but I will put some music on. You guys entertained while I'm gone. All right, I'm back. Sorry about all that. But anyways, so here we go. Let's get to the next one here. Jetta Ray by Jimmy Tornes. The artwork here reminds me a bit of Archie comics. Let's see. And this one's a Fund My Comic project All right, so here's the next one we're looking at: Jetta Ray, Jimmy Tornis. All right. So if you guys want to go check that, it's a Fun My Comic project. So here we go. Jetta Ray #1 miniseries. As I said, this looks a lot like some Archie artwork here. This reminds me of Archie, like Archie comics. So let's see if they say anything about that in the article here. So Chris Braley, welcome to Indie Comic Showcase. Jimmy, tell our readers about the Jetta Ray miniseries. Jimmy Tornis, Jetta Ray, a teenage smart teenage girl. Sounds a little redundant there. From Neutron City in the 2255. So I believe he meant to say in the year 2255 in the 22nd century. Actually, that I believe would be the 23rd century, not the 22nd. The century is usually one more than the first two numbers. So I think that's actually the 23rd century. And her Neutron High classmates and friends are always on wild alien intergalactic adventures with Archie, Jetta's klutzy jock boyfriend, Hilaria, Jetta's brunette-haired friend, Biff, Archie's friend, and fellow jock, who is a prankster, and Gizmo, the genius oof Neutron High. Genius oof. Didn't he mean to say goof? I guess. Obviously, there's some editing errors here. Obviously, who has a full lab and space cruiser, and Zilch, their green friend from Andromeda Galaxy. I wonder if they were patterning Zilch maybe after the Andorians from Star Trek fame. Who visits as well. Zilch loves to tell crazy jokes, all ages really, but the stories look 100 years in the future from a 1950s perspective. Let's see. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from and made you decide to self-publish it? Jimmy, a fellow from a couple of towns over, created the character when I was born, but only did 3 issues and dropped it. I always loved the character and the idea, along with Rich Maurizio, who spurred me to make new stories. Dan DeCarlo penciled some of the main stories and got hired by Archie Comics. So I was right. That's somebody who did draw for Archie Comics on this project. I think you look at this and you can just tell that right away. Obviously got that style of art there, where he brought his style of art. So you have on the far left. You got Hillary, Archie, Jetta, Biff, and Gizmo right there. So again, actually, Biff reminds me a little bit of Reggie from Archie. Actually, Jeddah, if you think about it, looks almost like a female version of Archie, too, if you really think about it. Chris, looks like looks a lot like DeCarlo's work. Who is on your creative team? Um, Jimmy, Jeff Schultz worked with Dan DeCarlo at Archie and came on board, penciling in Dan's fun style. Pat and Tim Kennedy came on with an older style Archie look, and then took it to a tad older look of the characters after high school. Sadly, Tim passed a couple of years ago, and Pat came back on for more great story art. We have Ron Maurizio inking along with Joe Simon's son, and one of my brother from another mother, Mark Sinnott, Ken Wheaton, Popeye and Simpsons, will also be back. Well, what I'm hoping for is that, because what he said is that these characters are apparently created by somebody else. I hope that doesn't necessarily come back to bite him in the rear end. Hope he got permission to use these characters, because if he didn't, then it could be kind of a tricky thing for him. Unless they've deemed it, unless of course they've deemed the characters to have fallen into public domain, then what I just said was all was is moot. That in the finals frontier. Let's see if anybody. And of course, we do have some. Okay, we have some. Hey, Mike. Hey, old streetlights. Thanks for coming in. If you haven't already, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So, let's see. Sorry I missed the last stream. I was busy. Hey, as long as you come back, I'm happy. Make as many as you can. I'm back with the milk. Okay. All right. So we're going over an article from Bleeding Fool here. Article he usually comes out with every week where he features some of the indie comic creators' work. So hopefully you'll get some useful information out of it. All right, so let's see. So Kristen asked, how far along is the project? And then Jimmy says, we actually finished early, and as of October 25th, wow, a month ago, or no, actually, I'm sorry, a couple weeks ago, the book is going to print so people can get their crowdfunding back before Christmas. Then Chris asked, what have you been learning from self-publishing, crowdfunding, and creating through this process? Jimmy, constant advertising to try to meet goals is tough, as I am alone in this and not experienced at the online part. Here's some more. And again, as we've been commenting quite a bit here, this does give you the feel of Archie comics in terms of the anime, in terms of the artwork here. All right, so we continue on here. Kristen asked, "What are your plans beyond this book? More Jedi Jimmy, yes, some really neat stories. We have Jedi Adventures numbers 1 and 2 out. We have pencils for those for issue 3, and I am inking them as well. As here's some of the sketch work here, as it were, for for some of the upcoming books. Chris, any special items we can find on the campaign page? Jimmy, we have original Archie art pages on a complete story from Jeff Schultz. I know it says and, but it should probably say a complete story, and a couple of variant Archie covers I did, as well as cover from Jetta. I use full color acetate over original art and ready to frame. They make a great addition to home and office, to home or office wall, or as a gift. So here, Totally Galactic Cons Jetta Ray Adventures. So here's some of it now. Some very interesting art right there. Hey, Devil Flyer. Hey, Rex. Hail, Mike. Hey, old Streetlights. Hey, Rex, thanks for popping in. If you haven't already, of course, you can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. About ready to get to the next part here in a moment. So, but let's see. Chris, it looks great, Jimmy. Any last words? Jimmy, yes, keep up with the series by checking out the site jettaray.com or our official Jetta Ray page on Facebook. You can get info there or ask me anything or give suggestions there. And then Chris responds, "Good luck, Jimmy." So there we go. Now we get to our buddy here, our buddy who was featured on this week's Indie Comics Showcase. The guy we all know as Apex from Apex Comics. Brett Cantrell. Fembat Volume 1, Brett Cantrell. Let me go grab the link, and then we'll get into this. And it's a Fun My Comic project. Oh. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. I think I goofed here somehow. Somehow I kind of X'd out the article, so I got to go back and let's see. Yeah. I somehow X'd out the article, so I got to go back and grab it. Lucky thing I remember where it's at. All right, so here we go. Fembat Volume 1, so let me just go ahead and put that information up for everybody. All right. And there we go. If you guys want to go ahead and go check that out, there's the link. There's the link to that one. So let's go ahead and get into this article now. And Volume 1 by Brett Cantrell. There she is in her glory there, as it were. Chris Braley, welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Brett. Hit me with your elevator pitch for Fembat. Brett Cantrell. Olivia Del Rey, go-go dancer in 1968, gets seduced and bit by a tall, dark, mysterious stranger at the club she dances. 1968. So that's what 56 years ago from 56 years ago from right now. Olivia slowly becomes a vampire, and she can't experience daylight, nor attend Catholic Mass anymore. And she doesn't want to kill people for blood. Legends say if you kill the vampire who bit you, you can regain your mortality. Olivia spent over 50 years roaming the world in search of her attacker. Yeah, and of course I've seen at least a couple of TV shows about the idea of repentant vampires. Of course, most notably the Dark Shadows gothic soap from back in the '60s, and then of course Forever Night in the '90s. So, anyways, getting back onto this. She finally finds help from Professor Nigel Emery, who creates a sexy vampire battlesuit with gold flying wings and gadgets. Olivia becomes Fembat to fight supernatural creatures that go quote unquote bump in the night and search for her attacker. It will be a 56-page book with color once I'm funded. All right, so we continue on here. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from, and made you decide to self-publish it? Brett, I wanted to create a vampire hero character with a sexy costume that would fight supernatural monsters in a Hammer horror film. I created Fembat in 1998, so 30 years after the setting of this story. Instead of a bat symbol, she will have big golden armored globes on her chest. Okay, quite pronounced. We saw earlier, quite pronounced. I think we can kind of get where the suggestions going there. At first, I wanted Fembat to be a weekly one-page comic strip released in The Stranger and other free local magazines. I never got around to submitting it because I was working 2 jobs and hardly any time to work on comics. I created many other IPs throughout the decades, and I was sorting through my art files. I rediscovered Fembat and revived her by spending 3 years of writing, drawing, and lettering my book, and finally released it on Fund My Comic. Here's some of the artwork there. Chris, What kind of comic readers is this suited for, and who is it aimed at? Brett, this book is for everyone who loves horror and sexy superheroes, fighting evil, supernatural creatures. The book is loaded with action and humor. Chris, what's your experience with comics? Brett, I started drawing comic strips from the newspapers around 6 years old. I evolved drawing and creating comic book characters when I was 10. So we got our own modern day squibbly gibbet here, squibbly gibbet. I collected comics back then when they were 25 cents each, going from a quarter to like 6.99, right? Today, I mainly collected Marvel and some DC. I created my own version of the Avengers from the late 1980s, based in San Diego, called Enforcer Inc., which is available in a mini comic in my Fembat campaign. I randomly create and produced ashcan comics of my different characters with a little print run and sell them through PayPal. Chris then asks, is this a solo effort you're doing yourself? How far along is um, how far along is the book? Brett, yes, I am hoping to hire a digital colorist, but the pencils, inks, and letters, 56 pages, are complete. I just need the book colored. I anticipate about 2 months for complete coloring and editing. Chris, what have you been learning from self publishing through this process? Brett, I've been self publishing on and off since 1996. Back then, we self publishers had to go through Diamond Distributing to be approved to get our books out. I wasn't that lucky at the time. My first book, Executor Femme Fatale, flip book, only printed less than 50 copies from a printer friend I knew from church. I had to consign my books to different comic shops throughout Seattle and different locations. Had spotty sales, but no big success. I continued with issue 2 a year later, using small publishers co-op in Florida with 1,000 book print run. I advertised in different small publisher fanzines um, and word of mouth before the internet took off. I'm still an active part-time comic creator with more IPs to release. And of course, you can also get, he also does his own, he also has his own channel on YouTube. If you guys want to, Apex Comics, and you can even see him on my channel now and again. So let's see now. Kristen asks, do you have more stories to tell? Brett then says, I have several cool characters and stories to tell from my own sandbox. After Fenbat, I will release a 24-page horror villain story called The Creep. 100 feet of pink perversion. Okay. It's what if Basil Wolverton were alive today, and what story will he write and draw? After that, I plan to write and draw third installment of Executor Femme Fatale flip book and republish the first 2 issues of that comic and crowdfund it. Sounds good, Brett? Good luck on the campaign. All right, so that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here and follow Indie Comics Showcase on Twitter at Indie Comics and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Until next time, support Indie Comics. And before we, of course, before we move on to the next to our next segment, which is the before we, of course, move on to the next segment, let me just remind everybody of the material that we went over tonight. So at baroncomics.com, check out Mike Barron's latest graphic novel, Sherlock Holmes Leviathan. On Fund My Comics, you can check out Jetta Ray from Jimmy Tornes. And from also on Fund My Comic from Brett Cantrell, our good buddy Apex Comics, Fembat, Volume 1. So there you go. So with that being said, now let's go ahead and let's get caught up on some wrestling news. As of course, we're going to go first off. We're going to go over we're going to go back and look back to what went down on last night's Impact. Look back on last night's Impact. All right. So the night opened up with Jordan Grace and Masha Slamovich defeating Alicia Edwards and Tasha Steelz. You then had in a no disqualification match, you had Rosemary defeat NXT's Wendy Chu. In a match that was taped in Cicero, Illinois, for the X Division. So you had a couple of, I guess you had some, on the show, you had some previously taped episodes from earlier this year. Mike Santana defeated, at the time, X Division champion Mustafa Ali by DQ. And then you also had Joe Hendry and Mike Santana defeat Champagne Singh and Mustafa Ali. You also had Jody Threat defeat Heather by Elegance in a singles match. Mike Bailey defended the X Division title and lost it to Moose. So Moose is now the new X Division champion. So that's all that happened on Impact last night. Now let's look ahead to tonight, as we're going to look at both what's going to be going down on SmackDown tonight and what's going to be going down on and then we'll also look ahead to what's going to happen on Collision this Saturday. So tonight's SmackDown, which is coming to everybody from the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. I guess they don't have any of the matches on there, so unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you much about that. But we can at least tell you about what's going on Collision tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's Collision from the Amica Mutual Pavilion in Providence, Rhode Island. We'll see in action the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, taking on the Iron Savages of Beefcake Boulder, Bulk Bronson, and Jack Jameson in a Full Gear 4-way contention series tag team match. Top Flight is taking on the Outrunners. I don't know if this is, I guess, to set up a potential tag team title match or what have you. Roderick Strong in his bid to get 3 victories in a row to challenge MJF. He'll be taking on the Beast Mortis. Former TBS champion Chris Statlander will be taking on Ashley Vox. Jack Perry defends the T title against Action Andretti. A.R. Fox will be taking on Nick Wayne. And in a match for the AEW World Trios title, the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta will be taking on the conglomeration trio of Mark Briscoe, Tomohiro Ishii, and Kyle O'Reilly, with, I believe, the conglomeration getting this title shot after defeating, of course, the Learning Tree on this past Wednesday's Dynamite. So, in part at least. So with that being said, now we're going to move on to with today being Friday, November 8th, 2024. We're going to take a look back at this day in each history. So 1984, 2004, 2009, and 2019. All right, so first off, we're going to head back 40 years ago today, as on this date, 40 years ago today, back in 1984, the 50th issue of Tales of Teen Titans went on sale on this date back in 1984. It was 40 pages. Well, actually, it was 48 pages altogether. It sold for $1.25. From what I can tell from the cover, not much more said of this, but I guess there was some kind of wedding going on in the story here. We are gathered here today, so is the title of the story. So, 40 years ago today, the 50th issue of Tales of the Teen Titans went on sale on this date back in 1984, 40 years ago today. Now moving ahead to 2004, 20 years ago today. On this date, 20 years ago today in 2004, from the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event as the go home event before Survivor Series that year. The main event saw Edge and Chris Benoit go to a no contest. Shelton Benjamin defeated Tyson Tomko, who had Christian in his corner, and Randy Orton defeated Batista in these matches that were set up, as to lead into. And here are some of the. Here are some of the pictures from that night. It would go down here with a lot of setup for that Sunday's Survivor Series. That's all that happened on that date, 20 years ago today. So WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Frank Irwin Center in San Antonio, Texas, as the go-home Raw before that year's Survivor Series. Now, getting ready to move on to the next piece in each history. On this date in 2009, Cartoon Network's Ed, Edd and Eddy would air its final episode. It's a television film called Ed, Edd and Eddy's Big Picture Show on this date in 2009. So 15 years ago today, Ed, Edd and Eddy would air their final episode, a television film called Ed, Edd and Eddy's Big Picture Show on this date back in 2009. There we go with that. And finally, on this date back in 5 years ago today, 2019. On this date in 2019, the original video animation, the OV White Fox's Regarding Zero, the Frozen Band, was released on this date back in 2019. So 5 years ago today. Did I find it again? Or the Frozen Bond. White Fox's Regarding Zero, the Frozen Bond premiered in theaters on this date back in 2019. So there we go with that. And I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here Sunday with our look back to comics history, the historical comic retrospect, in which of course my guest will be our buddy Apex Comics, who we were featuring tonight, featuring his book Fembat. We'll be looking back at books that went on sale in March 1940, focusing in on the company we know of today as Marvel Comics, known back then as Timely Comics. We'll be looking at one of the first Marvel crossovers involving the original Human Torch, the android Jim Hammond, and Namor the Submariner, among other things. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.